you're trying to answer this very difficult question. What is my purpose? A very important question, but also very abstract. And it creates a lot of pressure because it doesn't give you any method how to find this purpose. A better question is, what psychological ingredients help you define and ultimately realize this purpose? So in this video, I want to show you how to build what I call a life purpose profile. A structured overview of your interests, strengths, value, drives, identity, etc. Because purpose is not usually like a magical sentence you discover. It becomes actually more clear when different parts of your psychology start pointing in the same direction. So if you finally want to find an answer to what job you should do, what you're passionate about, what goals you should chase, then you're in the right place. So the most important place to start. So one foundational ingredient for finding your life purpose is to know what your strengths are. So these are abilities that come quite natural to you and which you can create value with to others. For me, for example, I asked all the people that are closest to me, what do you consider my strengths? Then I also did some personality tests that pointed out, hey, your personality is naturally tied. For me, for example, critical thinking, speaking, listening, coaching, structuring things. If I tie my activities that I do in my life purpose to these things, I have this positive feedback loop because people will perceive me as good at it and therefore I will get more motivated to do it. Then values. Values are what must be present for life to feel worth living. They're not really goals, they're more targets. Values are standards for what kind of life you want to live. So examples of what must be present for life to feel worth can be autonomy, mastery, achievement, contribution. So, and to really know if a value is a value, ask yourself, would I still care about this if nobody saw it? Interests. What activities and topics repeatedly pull your attention? There's this model, Holland's SEC model. I also made a video about this where you can fill in a free questionnaire to find your top interests and also link them to specific careers. Identity or the narrative is the story you're trying to live into. So it's like, what kind of person am I becoming through the choices I make and the things I'm focusing on? So foundational things to apply this are, what is meaningful for you? There are also all sorts of archetypes, embodied challenges, characteristics which you might be identified with. And this identification can mean that it will also be meaningful for you. You can also think back to personal challenges you had and distill from there something which is meaningful for you, which is part of your life narrative, your identity, and therefore is worthwhile to make a change in. For me, for example, I found it very difficult to find a life purpose myself, and therefore it's so meaningful for me to present this to you as well. So even if you know what strengths you have, what you find interesting, what values you have, what identity you have, there is still the ideal medium. So the question becomes, through what environment or format do I express myself the best in? For me, for example, I have dyslexia, which is a linguistic characteristic, which makes writing for me not the ideal medium. So writing about things like life purpose wouldn't be good for me, even though this would be in line with my values, my strengths, what I find meaningful. So think to yourself, are you a writer? Do you more flourish in conversation? Do you like more building projects on your own, creating structures? This is all really important to pick a path and set some goals. And the last one, this profile you're creating will never be the absolute truth, the end all be all. It will always be an hypothesis, meaning it's like a map that gives you directions. And the more experience you get, the better, the more defined this map will be. And you can only create a better map by exploring more or doing experiments. So the question for you becomes, if you have a general idea, how do I test whether the ideas that I have of what I found meaningful, what am I good at, are actually real? So for me, for example, I thought I really liked marketing, using psychology to influence how people think through building ads, etc. Then I did an internship in that and I found out I didn't like it. So my hypothesis didn't come. So I set some new hypothesis. And for you to test this hypothesis, look for small projects you can do in something you find interesting, maybe an internship, maybe some creative experiment. For example, like making a YouTube video is also a creative experiment to find out if these things are true and if you need to go back to the drawing board. Maybe you find out after an internship and getting a lot of feedback, always ask for feedback, that there's actually a strength you didn't know about, which might help you set a new hypothesis. So especially if you're clueless, try to make at least 5 hypotheses. For example, I like coaching, I like making videos, I like building websites, I like using AI to help companies automate, whatever it is, and try to test them and explore for yourself what is true for you. If you combine all this, you will be more clear about your life purpose. But if you want more value of a psychologist with over 10 years into psychology, helping more than over 1,000 people have insight into themselves, click here for more value.